Hello and welcome to the Insaka Talk Show. Today we have a joint session of the Insaka men and women, and we are excited to bring you this marvelous topic of if I knew then what I know now. But before we get into that, we do have to go through certain procedures. We are going to start with a quick icebreaker. And of course, as always, feel free to join in the comments. We love to hear your thoughts on everything that we share here on the Insaka Talk Show. So, with that being said, can you um, can you please tell us a single word that best describes you? And we shall start from the bottom up.
It's
From
funny how it's just us ladies. I know it's a mixed show. We're on top and men are I love
Yeah.
that.
so we'll start with Victor. Can you please tell us what single word best describes you and why?
Um, a single word that describes me best is tenacity. I've been known to be very tenacious,
Mhm.
and this word actually lines up with Yo Maps's song "Try Again." Uh, especially in the professional environment, if I make a project proposal, they turn me down. I'll bring it up another year, another year, another year until they say yes. So I've been known to be very tenacious. I keep trying things again. I try to work hard. I fail a lot, but at the end of the day, I keep trying until I get the right outcome that I want.
Good. That's a good one.
Thank
Fantastic.
you. Thank you.
Mazaila, what's your
Of course, my name is Sakala Henry, broadcasting from New York. Depending on the GPS location where you are, I greet you good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. One word which describes me is thinker. I'm a thinker. I love to think.
That's true.
I love to think new things and I like to venture into new things. Because of my thinking, sometimes I find myself in trouble and losing, but I don't stop. I keep
mm,
doing it. So people are close to me. I love to think. I'm always thinking what direction to take, where to go, what can we do. When I'm sitting with people who are just sitting like this, atemok tonton kanyafilia.
mm,
I'm a think.
Muntu muntu.
Muntu muntu. There you go.
great. That's
Okay. I should think it's my turn.
oh yeah,
Mashmakali.
absolutely.
I think one word that best describes is the word sincere. And I like to be sincere in everything that I do.
Hmm.
Yeah, even though we're living in a world that's sometimes difficult, big at work, wherever you are, but you still have to prove yourself through your character that you are a sincere person.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Amen.
sincerity is big to my life.
That's good.
That is true.
That is true.
I guess it's my turn.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi guys. Thank you for tuning in. One word that describes me is rudeness. People think I'm rude.
Yeah.
I'm actually very misunderstood. People think
Mm.
I'm rude because I'm very straightforward. I just say things as they are.
Irene.
Then you are a straight shooter.
I am a very much straight shooter. And
She's
then I
good in
think
a good
about
way.
it later, I'm like, oh, should I have said that? But then that is true. So I don't even feel guilty. So it's that kind of sorry, not sorry.
Let
That's a
me
song. That's a song.
Sorry, not sorry. I think there's a song, right?
There is a
That's
song.
correct.
There's a song,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, I guess it's my turn. The word that describes me most is I'm very compassionate. I put in my whole hundred in anything I do. I
Mhm.
invest in somebody's shortcoming
Mhm.
with my whole heart, and I think myself in their shoes, and that's the reason why I do what I do. And I have no regrets that I do that. I know people say, oh, you do too much, but no, I'm still doing more because God wants me to do more.
Yep.
Amen.
Amen to that.
Snelly.
Oh, I thought,
Nah.
No, no.
You can't get away with it.
Nah.
it's honestly, I don't know. I can't think of it right now of a word that describes me. It's a lot, but I think it's a little bit of what the two of you ladies have said, but that's not one word. So we'll,
It's
we'll
a
leave it.
phrase. Ken. It's a
I,
phrase.
It's a
yeah,
compound word. It's a compound word.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So you're not an element, you're a compound.
Yes.
there you go. I like that. I'm a compound.
So then you are a compassionate straight shooter. How's that?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
when she shoots straight to mfafia kuli boys, they don't need nazanda. We just keep quiet.
yeah, something like that. So moving on with community news. Actually, before we do that, we do have, like we said, we want to hear from our Insaka family as well, and of course, Sandra Dorsey, Musoma Dorsey. Hey, she says, "Hello,
Hey,
King."
Sandra.
Hey,
Hey,
Sandra.
hey,
I hope the
Sandra.
drive
Thank
is
you.
good.
Thank
I think
you.
she might be coming from Arkansas.
I like the name Dosi.
Mm, yeah,
Dosi.
Irene,
Hello,
can
Judith.
What happened?
anyone can chip in with the
Oh,
comment?
okay. You can put them on the screen if you want, and I'll read them.
Yeah, I can see them on the screen.
Okay. Hello, Judith Siamilimo says, "How are you, my people? Long time."
Back.
And then Esau Piri says, "Miss Nelly, Priska, long time. How are you doing?"
Hey, it's good to
Esther,
see
all
you.
the way from Chipata. I try and remember where these people are calling in from. I think
Yeah,
it's from
yeah.
Chipata. And then Judith Siamilimo, it's a balanced gender.
Of course it is.
50-50. 50-50.
And
I
then
always say
20-23.
balanced diet.
Sandram Somadorosi, my husband says determined. And my son said kind. Those are
Oh,
nice words.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice word.
Yeah.
Then we have Esau Peewee, Irene Chicago, much love for you. And then Sandra says Nelly is a social butterfly.
that
See, but she's your friend. She's known you for years, so she knows exactly who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Mom says, "Good afternoon, Insaka Talk Show team." Thank you, Mom.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Zenith Mala will say, "Hello, people."
is
Hey,
an
Zainab.
Hey, Zenith. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Zan.
She's always there.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
she's
yeah.
very supportive. Thank you, Insaka
I
family.
think they should come up with a trophy to give to one of our supporters. Those who are frequent.
That's a
Yeah,
good idea. That's a good idea.
very good idea.
Yeah.
Well,
We already have one in mind that we talked about. We can talk about it off chat.
Yeah.
Remember the lady we talked about? Yeah.
And also just to add on to that, actually, we've actually given out prizes and stuff around Christmas. I think we did. We picked our top viewers and we sent like Christmas hampers.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
So
Nice.
we coordinated with some people at ShopRite in Zambia. Irene was leading that effort, and I feel like it was really good. So yeah, from time to time, yes, we do send out gifts to appreciate our Insaka family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on with community news, in our community here in the DFW area, we do have a tea party that we were supposed to have this last weekend, but we postponed it due to venue issues. So the tea party, please make sure you join us. Get your tickets if you haven't. The tickets are available on Eventbrite and they are just $60 per person. You learn about finances, about real estate, about women health. It's a lot. So, it's a lot of what you're going to get back in comparison to what you're paying, honestly. And of course, it's endless mimosas and endless cups of tea and coffee. So please join us. It's going to be fun.
That's worth it.
Anything else going on in your communities?
No, but Mainga did the fashion show, so we didn't have the pictures last week. We do have the pictures. We did the fashion show in Massachusetts. Some beautiful pieces. Yeah, very
Nice.
good. Yeah, that one. I love that one.
I love that one too.
Nice.
I can see myself in that one.
Looks like it, yes.
That one, and there's another one that
This
that
one.
one I can see myself in that one too.
Oh yeah, I can see Irene in this. Like when
I'm
I saw it, I
telling
was like Irene.
I am
EG.
rocking this one, and everybody's like,
What's
"What?"
the terror?
Mainga.
Mainga Sanderson is based in New York.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
and you can find him on social media. It's called Vitengeni Vatu. That's the name of his page. So he did the fashion show last week. He actually did the first Zambian to do New York fashion
Wow.
week, New York, something to do with fashion and New York together and walk.
Wow.
He makes very nice men's pants
Impressive.
from Chitenge.
Yeah.
For the summer, you should reach out, and shorts too. He's very good with that.
Are they those pants which are really tight?
You can you can up them however you want them. If you want them loose, but he knows how to pick the right fabric for
The shorts. So let's support our local team. I'm always believing in supporting small businesses and ourselves. It's
100%.
within the community.
Yep.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we talked about our show, which is our topic for today, which is if I knew then what I know now about marriage. So really, before we dive into that, we're just going to take a quick short break, and so we can thank our sponsors. We do have a couple of companies that do sponsor our show, Vibrant Funding. If you have a nonprofit organization and you're looking for funding, make sure you get in touch with Vibrant Funding. And also the cultural group benefits for life insurance. They are some of our sponsors. So if you don't have life insurance, please consider getting life insurance for your family. So we'll be right back after this break.
Do you run a nonprofit organization in the education, health, and human services sectors? Do you need grant funding for your organization? Or do you need help developing programs to help you raise money for your nonprofit organization? At Vibrant Funding, our mission is to connect our nonprofit partners in the education, health, and human services sectors to the financial resources required to achieve their mission. We support nonprofit organizations based in and operating in the United States and Africa. We offer the following services to new and established organizations: program development, donor engagement and retention, grants, research, and writing. Contact us at www.vibrant-funding.com or email us at info@vibrant-funding.com. Call us at 404-751-6802 to learn more about our services and how we can help you to have an impact on the world. Vibrant Funding, connecting donors and nonprofits.
Welcome back to the Insaka Talk Show. And in the studio with me, of course, are the Insaka Kings and Queens. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. And to kick us off, we're going to talk about if I knew then what I know now about committed relationships. So really, to offset this conversation, I would like to know, what did you guys think about a committed relationship? Committed relationships such as marriage that would lead to marriage. But even before marriage, how did you envision a committed relationship?
If I can jump in first, if that's okay, or maybe we do ladies first. How about that?
Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
just shoot.
I think what I know now as a married man versus what I knew then, I just didn't know how much work it takes to maintain your balance, to maintain your marriage. I used to think, it just looks rosy from the wedding and the honeymoon. And I mean, there's low moments in marriages. And so how do you manage those low moments? being young, being naive, I didn't really think about the low moments. And now I do know they are real. And how do you make yourself valuable in the relationship during the low moments? That's an eye opening for me.
That's a good
The
one.
low moments that nobody talks about,
Yeah.
or that you don't see when you see the Instagram posts and the Facebook posts of the lovely couples with the beautiful smiles, the low moments. Uh-huh. Anybody else? It's a free flow.
For me, I would say compromisation. Just learning how to compromise, and then you kwate minsula.
Did you, so is this what you knew before? Right? Are
No,
you
this
talking
is
about
what
what you
I
knew?
wish. This is what I wish I knew.
Mm.
Right? That's a question.
No. Like
Experiment.
like going into before Tawalakwata, our first
Okay,
boyfriend,
time gets to.
before you ever had your first boyfriend, before you were ever married, what did you think you knew about relationships? What was your knowledge of relationships then?
Thank you.
Um, Going to movies, getting gifts, um,
Yeah.
yeah, gifts and just movies, going out, having fun. Just like my first boyfriend I dated, I never knew what breakup was like. Like with my friends, they had like one, two, three breakups. I only had one boyfriend, so I was just like, this is how it is. I was heartbroken. I
You
was
know,
heartbroken.
actually, what I thought about a relationship, for me, it was every day was a Sunday, every day was a Friday, was a weekend. I thought, when you are in love with somebody, every time, the way things flow. Every time she wants to talk to you, every time she want to call you, she want to find about you. Everywhere you look, there are roses. Even if you haven't eaten shima, you just look at somebody, you're satisfied. I thought,
Well,
this,
hey, put that your conversation, so.
yes, just look at somebody, everything says hallelujah to you. So I thought this is the way the relation has to be, and it has to be like this. Everything you ask, you say, "Oh yeah, sure, let's do it, let's have it." You see, so I thought that's the way it's supposed to be. I never thought about down, whatever. There's some other commitment. So for me, I didn't know all these other shenanigans. I didn't know that there will be some time where somebody doesn't want to talk to you, that they want to be with you on the same bed. I didn't think about that. So all I knew was
Mm.
it's honeymoon all the way. Every
Every
time
day.
I said honey, she had to respond. High five. Navile tukumbata na sana anga maishi wanambia na yonse wakala kukumbata. So I thought this is the way relationship has to be. I just said I thought every time it's hugs, kisses, whatever. So that's what's in my head.
Yeah.
Well, for me, my stepmom sometimes would get mad at my dad, and my dad would be talking to her, and she's quiet. It used to hurt me so much. I'm like, why is she not answering? My dad is talking to her. So I kept on telling myself, when I get married, I'm gonna be the best wife. If my husband says they want this, I'll drop everything and I'll do this, because I wanted to make sure that my dad was getting all that attention. But you know, when I did get married, I found out like there are times when you just want your me time. You don't want to be bothered. So it had nothing to do with what my dad did. Maybe that was her me time. She just didn't want to be bothered. But I was young. I was judging her before I could actually get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, before Mr. Ennis says something, I would like to remind the Insaka family, please let us know in the comments what you thought about committed relationships before you actually got into one. Let us know all those naive thoughts that you had. Go ahead.
All right. No, thank you so much, Miss Nelly. Before I actually, talk about what I didn't know, what I should have known, I think that, it's interesting that we're talking about this topic, because over the years I've realized that people who are single are looking forward to getting married, and
Yeah.
those who are married are looking forward to being single. Yeah, so it's
You're right about that.
we need to make a stop to that. But anyway, one thing that I should have known, or maybe I should say I should have paid attention to, is the fact that when you are dating or you get into marriage, there's an aspect of growth and development, in a person. So a person develops and they change.
Yeah.
Okay. So that I should have paid attention to the fact that whoever I'm willing to spend my life with, they will at some point develop. And when I talk about development, I'm not talking about in size. I'm talking about them just maturing. Okay, and also changing, because what they've probably gathered as we are relating is more than they were. So I should have paid attention to those two words: development and changing.
That's true.
Yeah. So Fanta says, I thought committed relationships was between two people who were madly in love with one another through thin and thick. That's actually, I think it's still true. I think you were one of the few people who were on the right path, Fanta, to think that way. Because yes, a committed relationship should be between two people who love each other and who are there to stand for one another through whatever life storms come their way. Personally, I wasn't too sure, because coming from a background where my parents divorced when I was really young, um, I'm not really sure that wasn't too sure because I'm not really sure that I was looking forward to marriage, honestly, like that, because of the background and having step parents and whatever. But that was my thought. But on the brighter side, like Priska, I thought, hey, it's about gifts, it's about roses, it's about hugs. Like Ramazaila, it's about kisses, like all the time. Like you just have this cuddly bear situation where it's all rosy. But no, not quite. So there's an interesting comment here from Zenith. If somebody,
There's that it must lead into marriage always. So
Yeah.
every boyfriend was a future husband, leading to a poor boundaries.
That is true.
It's true. It's true.
the guy is just thinking about, hey, maybe I might get a kiss or two. You are the Shamo.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
And I want to respond to Zana's comments too. I don't know what girl, like as women, I don't care what age it is, we always dream of wearing that white wedding dress, walking down the aisle. It doesn't matter even if you go to a courthouse. Like when you get married, some point in you go to a courthouse. At some point, some anniversary, you want to wear that dress and walk down the aisle.
Yeah.
So we imagined ourselves like, oh, this is my husband. I'll be wearing this and that.
And speaking of husbands, my husband is a little bit out of context here. I don't know why he jumped the gun to talk about father.
I saw that. He said, well, Father's Day is coming. Just a reminder for everyone, because we don't get the same coverage.
That is true.
You know what? We're going to give you all the coverage you need. We realize we are all, me, myself, and I. No, we're going to do that for you. Don't worry about it.
That is
Okay, so now that we've kind of talked about what we thought then, about relationships, I think it would be great for us to kind of like share two things that you consider vital or important for a relationship to thrive. Like, what do you think? Of course, there are more than that, right? But in the interest of time, can each one of us just share at least two things that we think are important for a relationship to sustain itself? And of
For me,
course,
I think.
Insaka family, tuwewe nikona from my comments, let us know what are the two most important, the top two for you.
I think for me, it's communication and respect.
Mm.
Those two are like major for me, at least. Communication and respect.
I'm
Wallace?
gonna go with what you said, Irene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go with what Priska said earlier. Compromise naming Sula, and I think both parties should have some sort of compromise, and
Mm-hmm.
we should all learn to overlook some of the flaws. What I know now about marriage is that values are not universal. Like you mentioned, Vanelli, you came from a different family setup.
Mm-hmm.
I came from a different family setup where I had a mom and dad. Those are the only ones I know. But if you have stepchildren, stepmother, stepfather, you're coming from a different value system. Also, there's also socioeconomic value systems.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up doing everything for myself. Now, if I marry somebody from the International School of Lusaka who had butlers and all that, so we gotta compromise and say, look, this person is coming from a totally different background. I'm coming from a totally different background. Let's compromise without judging each other too much.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what that's called, Victor? Kwanaku.
that is true.
Why, George? Now,
Interesting. Let me
someone-
dive in quickly. I think that I would want to listen more.
Mm.
I would want to listen more. That's I wish I could too, but I think everything for me hinges on the listening part. If I could listen more, I'll probably do better. If that's what I think.
So, what if you're listening, right? You're taking the time to really listen to your partner, and they're not doing the same.
That's where
Yeah,
compromisation comes in now.
So then you're always the one compromise. You're listening and you're compromising, basically. And when we say listen, right? I'm assuming you're talking about listening to understand.
that's what I was going to talk about. That
Uh-huh.
there's a difference between listening
Mhm.
and hearing.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, you could be saying something and I'm hearing your voice, but I'm
Mhm.
not comprehending what you're talking about.
Right.
So when we bring in the idea of listening, it's me giving you total attention for
Mhm.
comprehension.
Right.
Yeah.
So that if I have a question in what you are talking about, it will be an intelligent question regarding what you are saying.
Mhm.
Exactly.
It will be a question that will come from a place of understanding.
Mm.
Yes, so that's what I mean when I talk about listening.
Listening, can I just jump in? I want to merge a couple points between listening and communication that my sister Irene mentioned about. Communication is more than 80% nonverbal. So it's usually body language. The vast majority of communication is body language. You may not even listen to somebody. They are talking, even when they're not talking, they are communicating something to you.
Yeah.
As a newlywed, I used to miss a lot of non-verbal communications. I was in my own world and I had a lot of assumptions,
Mm.
thinking like, okay, if you provide a house, you provide a car, and you provide everything, life is great, right?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Mm.
I think sometimes it's the little things that matter. I didn't know how great the little things matter. Just a birthday card, maybe some fresh flowers, because maybe what I'm bringing to the table is something somebody already has or has seen. I need to step up and go a little further. So communication, especially non-verbal, I used to miss it all the time.
That's good.
Mwala Sapopena, a lot of women actually communicate non-verbally, especially
Yeah.
when emotions are high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When a woman is upset, most of the time, some of us, I personally, I'm not very good at battling words. I'll just keep quiet and look at you. Sideways. So like the non-verbal communication is what a lot of women do. You are right, and I think it's important that men learn to pick that up.
Yeah.
Know what you're, and then you request a sit down. Even when you request to say, "You seem upset," is there something that you want to talk about? You know, but sometimes now when I say China, enough, okay.
Why can I name you Mwangume?
It's so sweet just to. I'm finding myself to be an audience of you. I'm finding myself not to be a participant because you are all bringing sense
I wanna
in all that you're giving.
I wanted to add on. Remember when I talked about compromisation, and when Victor says communication and flowers, I'm gonna give an example. I love gifts. My husband knows that, and I love flowers. And the times I'll be like, no flowers. You told me from the beginning, I'm not going to start a habit that I don't know buying you flowers, and in the end, you just get mad that I didn't get you flowers. So I understand and compromise when I'm waiting for flowers. I don't get flowers, so I buy myself flowers. So that's where I compromise. And it's like you went to the fountain, flowers.
All right.
Can I make a comment on
It's funny because my niece is just started dating. So the boy that she's dating, I met him for the first time. And then I asked her in front of him, I'm like, what do you like about this guy? And she said, from the day I met him, he buys me flowers at the end of the month, every month. We've been dating for 9 months. I've gotten flowers from him for 9 months. And I turned to the boy, I said, look, if you're just trying to get some cookies from her, and then once you get the cookies and the flowers are gone, I'm going to ask her. Because this is what charmed her. You give her flowers every month, so you might as well do it all the way, because then she'll feel good. She'll know when you don't buy the flowers, she'll know there's something wrong. So you got to keep it up.
Pastor Ernest, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to make a comment on what you just said, because I'm not sure if I did understand you quite well when you talk about your compromise, and that's great. Okay, that's one of the attributes that we need to learn. But I feel like the compromise
should be on the other side too.
Should be both ways.
Both sides.
In the sense that I know I'm just probably like your husband. I'm not, a flower person, and
yeah,
you're terrible, all of you.
There's room for improvement. So what I'm saying is that as you've compromised, say, okay, I'm okay not receiving them, and you buy for yourself, that's okay. But I think as men also, we need to say, okay, let me compromise in the sense that I can learn this art of bringing flowers. I know I've told her that she doesn't have to expect all the time, but when I can, when I have a moment, when I'm in, Walgreens, whatever, Walmart, and I see flowers, I think it will be great for you to just surprisingly receive the flowers unexpectedly.
Thank you.
And it should be both ways. A woman should be able to go to the store and see a very nice shirt that she thinks her husband can look good in it, and just buy it. It should be both ways.
Yeah,
Volume.
we do
When
that.
you see something that will look nice on your spouse, as a woman, you go in a store and see, this my husband can look nice in it. Surprise him. Just get it and get it for him just because.
Now
it shouldn't be his birthday, it's an anniversary. No, just because.
That my husband does. So he makes it up for flowers. He'll go to the store, see something nice, and he'll buy it. I thought you would look nice in this. As a matter of fact, he's got a better taste for me than I myself have. So
Wow.
that I'll give him props.
He's very brave. He's very brave.
The woman should do that to the husband.
What were you gonna say?
I do it all the time. I sometimes, and it's funny, we have this funny thing that we do when we're going out. Like when my husband dresses up, then he turns and looks, and then he will ask me, do I look like somebody you date? I'm like,
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Yeah, because I would like to see him dressed. Instead of me saying
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's good.
right, so and I wanted to share what he said. He said, as a young man, I didn't think about marriage, uh, just being in love and relationships. Marriage was very low on my list because I viewed it as being tied to one person, and I can't just walk away when things get bad.
That's a good point.
Okay, that's a good one.
How many men out there, is that a general feeling that you guys typically have about marriage? Like, you feel like it's a tie down?
No.
No, I personally looked forward to being married. Yeah. I had a specific time frame in mind.
Oh, okay.
I'll finish high school, I'll go to Yunza, I'll go back to Kitwe, I'll get a small single quarters house somewhere in Kana West. I had a visual of how life should flow, but obviously it didn't flow like that straight line at all. Got bumps and bruises along the way, but here we are. I look forward to being responsible, having kids, and just being able to provide. Because men, we want to provide, we want to be valuable to our families. But as I was providing along the way, I used to forget about myself. I'm like, you know what? I don't buy clothes. I buy whatever my wife wants, whatever my kids want.
Mhm.
And then my wife looks at me and say, you know what? I need to spend some money on you. You work so hard. I need to get you a suit. I need you a nice pair of shoes. I'm like, oh, I guess I need to step up too. But she pimps me up and gampanga my wife.
All right. My two things that I consider. What was the question again? Two things.
The
Did
two
you look-
things that you consider important for your relationship to thrive.
Yes. I'll paraphrase the question. Instead of putting it relationship, I'll put marriage. Two things you consider for marriage to strive. I'll say good sex and respect.
Yeah.
To each his own.
Like,
Yeah.
What's the first one?
good sex.
Good sex and respect. No matter how good we can run away, go around, think that good sex makes marriage strive.
Mm.
Have bad sex and see what's going to happen in your marriage.
Can you elaborate on respect and also can you elaborate on bad intimacy? Let's put it that way.
Okay, I'll be good to let me start with
Muna
respect.
in ba session on band.
Hey, that's the nice one.
Yeah, of course. Yes, we are combining our heads and pump logic in one another. It's not that we are the cream, we know it all. No, we're trying to combine our heads. No man, whether he's short, tall, fat, needs respect.
Mm.
When you disrespect a man, that's a turn off.
Define respect.
That's very good. Respect, it's not just in words. Respect is in your action and in your ways, the way you approach me and the way you talk to me
Mm-hmm.
and the way you act towards me.
Mhm.
It's not by just putting a title or something to my name. Respect is a package. It's not a one thing, and it cannot be described in one word.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about good sex? We're talking about romantic sex, not whereby it has to start somewhere. Understand, for you to have good sex with your partner, sex is not the act which you start by having the two of you. No, it starts somewhere. In the morning, make coffee for her, do something nice, clean the bathroom.
Who's a bit?
Bingo. Priska Walasa.
Make the environment, create the environment ready for intimacy
Mm.
by treating the person well as you are going along. Not in the morning you have a quarrel. In the afternoon you insulted each other. Late at night, you want to have sex. No, that relationship is not going to be.
Pampansha.
No. So it has to be an environment. Yeah, it has to be an environment already set.
Yeah.
That brings something which I cannot explain. I can't put it in words. I know I can say it in tongues, but if I speak in tongues, you're not going to understand.
Now,
Keep on that one.
Get to the next point.
You see, Anthony said the man is correct. So you have a fan here.
Yeah.
Atuku Pampansha.
Those points, I know I have so many, but since you said two, I only pick those two from the.
Now, if I can ask a question real quick about Henry, isn't respect a two-way street? I have heard situations where couples are arguing about, let's say, a toothpick. This one puts a toothpick on the table, the other one says, "Why are you putting it on the table? Put it in the trash." Now, maybe the lady feels dismissed. It's like every time I make a suggestion, you are dismissing me. The problem is not a toothpick, but maybe the way the man dismisses the view of the lady, and then the lady also atampoksaska. Yeah. So it's I think it's a two-way street when it comes to respect. So what's the standard of respect? How is the man prepared to treat a woman, if at all men are prepared in the Zambian context? Ladies are usually prepared a certain way. Are we lacking institutional training for men how to respect a woman in a home?
I think according to Alekula, they used to tell us that when you want to say something to your spouse or your other half, you do it in the bedroom where there is no children. You bring it up to say, Paramachilanda, I really didn't like it. I couldn't answer you then because Pachbavan, or because there were some friends of ours. So you have to tough it up when people are around and play like everything is fine. And then you can say, Bash Johnny, I have you take him somewhere and you say, don't say that again. It's very disrespectful. I felt some kind of way. Then you come back and you're all smiles. So people don't know that happened. That's how I was raised when they were fundering us.
So
But are the men funded?
Speak to you in a disrespectful way as well.
Are the men funded to maintain that or not? Or are we just left to the wolves?
So that's a good point.
That's why we are Insaka. What are we doing now? We are teaching. Men are being funded too. They're being taught. Which way? Here, as we are talking, we are speaking to our fellow men out there, to the young man who was about to get married, for the young man who has no dad to tell him how to treat a woman. So we are telling them that respect is a two-way street. You don't just get respect from a woman; you also have to give it.
And you also have to realize, like the example that Irene gave, right? The context, also the example that Victor gave. If you speak to somebody, the tone of voice will also determine, what follows next.
Yeah.
If you speak to somebody in a tone of voice that's either dismissive or is angry, then it will elicit feelings in the other person as well that you may not like. So really and truly do unto your spouse or partner the way you want them to do unto you.
Yeah.
It's fundamental.
Can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
I am following. So let me talk about what Mr. Sakala said. I think that I've learned that, for everything to thrive or for everything to succeed, preparation is cardinal. Okay, you have to prepare. So it is with our friends, our women. You have to take that moment to prepare a woman so that she begins to adjust. Maybe yesterday, confusion. So when you begin to prepare, actually, I put it this way. I put it as like, proper preparation prevents poor performance. Okay, all those are so you really have to take time to prepare. Oh, you want me to say it again? Okay. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. So
Volume.
Yeah. So when we talk about what respect is, Mr. Mazaela said you can't use one word. I have personally come up with one word. I think that respect has everything to do with attitude.
Yeah.
Your attitude will tell me exactly what you want me to do. If you come in to me, you want to talk to me, and you come, even though the situation looks like it's chaotic, and you come to me in a way that shows you are being considerate,
Mhm.
it would help for us to calm the situation and find a time when we can address it. Remember that we are different people. We are not all the same. So somebody would reciprocate to an action that in itself is chaotic.
Mhm.
But if it's addressed in a way that you sound like you are considerate, even though I'm wrong, you are more likely to get a positive answer that would actually take care of other things that shouldn't have, come up in the conversation.
Wow.
So for me, attitude is very big.
That's true.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And on that note about prepared, like being prepared, I think we're going to pivot the conversation a little bit and talk about some of the things that we we need to do before we consider being serious in a relationship. Like if you are not yet married, what are some of the things that you want to make sure that you hammer on or you prepare on? You know, I, other than Emafunde, those traditional lessons that they give to us in the Zambian traditional setting, we have teachings that happen. For those of you that are non-Zambian or may not know, we prepare a young lady for marriage. There are ladies, specialized women called Bana Chimbusa, who teach a woman how to take care of her husband and her home. And on the men's side, we have the men called Chimbusa. Therefore, baby,
Bashibukombe.
Bashibukombe, I'm sorry, Bashibukombe, that teach the men how to take care of his partner, his spouse, and his home. Now, the other way that we can prepare, what are some of the things that we need to look at that may bring problems if not addressed before you get into a marriage? And some of these are performing health screenings these days, right?
Yeah.
We live in a world where we have different health issues that people have or are going through. HIV/AIDS is one of those.
Mhm.
Not to say that if you are HIV positive, you don't deserve marriage or a good partner. You do, but I think it's just good for the other person to know what they're getting into, right? So that they make an informed decision. So make sure you go for HIV/AIDS screenings, mental health, as
Yep.
well as sickle cell anemia. Because if you both have the trait, then chances are you will have a child that has sickle cell anemia.
Yeah.
So, as people of color, this is something, it's a disease that's prevalent within the Black community. Um, so, apart from these screenings, what else do you think that, couples should really think about in preparing for marriage?
I think adopting a mentor into their marriage, somebody who's been married like for a very long time, who's a father mother figure, or at least a couple,
Mm,
so that they can be there to go to couple every time you stumble on issues that you don't know. Because if you're young, you're in your 20s,
mhm,
marriage is a little too heavy on you.
mhm,
And you don't want to run to your relatives and say, bashite bachita so, wanachite but if you adopt um, a mentor that can guide you, it could be somebody who's spiritual or non-spiritual, whichever path that you follow. I think that's vital if you're young.
You know,
Agree.
before you get into marriage, as a young man or as a young lady, make sure you know your partner or the person you're going to get into very well.
mhm,
Know his father, know his
mhm.
mother, know his background.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Make sure know that he has a good credit report or a bad one because that will affect you.
Mhm.
know where he works, if he doesn't work, because all these little things, when you get together, they become an issue.
Yeah.
And make sure he's single.
Yes.
Yeah.
Triangle.
While they're married.
Yes.
Yes.
Mukubule. Make sure you cook him very well. Because you find that you know,
In addition to that, I think it's important what Sakala said. You have to have a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bunch of questions. You know, ask as many questions as you possibly can, because it's true. Those things will come up. For those that have gone to school, do you owe the state anything? Are you still paying on on the hair that you have? Is it yours? Is it paid?
Pastor Ernest, we don't want a business.
We want to make sure that I have to be bringing
He
this.
needs to know you can afford it.
Yes, you need to know. I need to know. Do you do Brazil or you do
Peruvian.
I have to know these things, so it's important. But questions, that's on the light note. But questions are important to get to know ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Mazaila, what did he say? Is it NW45? What is your grade?
Mac powder.
What is your Mac powder?
No, actually, whatever the pastor said is too correct. But there's a smart way as a man. I can't say, oh, this hair, it looks nice. What kind of hair is this? Then she'll say, oh, this
Send
is
them to me.
Oh, so that's your type of hair you like? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Then she'll pour out the data, and you have asked that way, in a diplomatic way.
Exactly.
Moreover, ask them what kind of demon do they fight in the family?
Yeah.
Because trust me.
But can I ask a question?
Sure.
Since we are talking about this,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about the impact family members have on the marriage?
That's a very good question.
Very nice question.
It's a very good question. And I think that the family has, depending on the type of family the person comes from, if they come from a very supportive, tight-knit family, then trust and believe that the family is going to have a lot of impact, a lot of say in your marriage.
Yeah.
Because if your spouse has an established relationship with their sisters, the siblings, or even the parents, that means those are the people that this person has trusted all these years before Tarakwishibayo. So naturally, anytime there are issues that arise, there will be something that will propel that person to go back to that source of support that they've known all these years.
Yeah.
So it's important that, one, if you come from such a background, you understand that, yes, the limitations that are there in your support, but also as a spouse that's coming into a relationship where Umunobe Ariba established with their family, try not to break that, Makashana, especially women.
Well, if I can jump in, Vanelli, I think if I can translate that, marriage, it takes two to tango. It's about two people. Traditionally, back in the day, marriage was such that, even in Wapula province, it was such that even your mother or your aunt could literally come to your house and chase your wife out and bring you a cousin. That used to literally happen.
Yeah.
Now, that kind of influence, I think in this day and age, it shouldn't be applicable, where you listen to everything your mother says or everything your aunt says. At some point, as a man, you have to be able to protect that woman you've chosen to be with. So, especially Bembas, they would assert and say, you know what, she wasn't there when you were getting educated. We've invested so much in him, and for her to just come in and look pretty and enjoy, people used to take offense about that.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it takes two to tango. It's a two-way relationship and not a 3, 4, 5, 6-way relationship. So the two have to be very committed to each other.
Pastor,
I agree with you. And sorry, I'm going to cut you just briefly because I don't want to lose my thought. I will tell you what my mom always says. My mom says, marriage is not between two people. Love is between two people. Marriage is a union between two families.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
That's why when you go and get married, you always have to have witnesses. Why do you call your family, her family, his family? Why? Because marriage is between, it's a union between two families. Love is between two people.
Good
Now,
point.
now what you raised a good point in saying there has to be a balance. Like I say,
Yeah.
because you are close to your siblings does not give them a right to have a say in everything. It can be your support system when things are bad, because we are assuming that all marriages are rosy. There are marriages where women get beaten,
Yeah.
men get whooped by their wives,
Yeah.
men
True.
get starved, or they are treated poor. You need someone that you can lean on, an outlet, but
Yeah.
that outlet should not abuse.
Yeah.
They should not abuse the fact that you're going to them for support.
Can I come in real quick on that, Miss Nell? Let me Victor, to understand what you're saying, I think let me bring in a personal description of what I think marriage is. Now, considering what Miss Nelly has just said, I'll still use the word marriage. Okay, then put in parentheses love, because that will also need a proper definition. So I define marriage as a relationship between two matured people with the intention to fulfill God's mandate. It's from where I'm coming from, with the intention to fulfill God's mandate. Now, if it be so, I do not have a problem with you or me bringing in the relatives and all of that's good. We need these people because, like you said, at the time of our wedding ceremony, these people came in. But when it comes to the marriage itself, the institution of marriage, I think we have to understand that it's better for us to have an independent person who we should consult when we are going through a situation. The problem with having your siblings, you talking to your siblings, me talking to my sibling, is that they will get to know me or they'll get to know you. Remember that you are creating enmity between your siblings and your husband. But once the situation is over, you get back to your husband.
Yes.
And you make all the love, perhaps good sex. But your siblings will not have that. They will be looking
No,
at
they won't.
in the same capacity that you've already established. That's why it's very important that when we are going through these situations, let's have an independent person who has nothing to do with me, has nothing to do with you, and they'll give us what we'll run with in our marriage. So that's what I think.
And that's the reason why in the beginning I said, always find a mentor, a couple that you can run to.
Can I
So,
go back?
go ahead.
I want to go back to Nelly when you said, know the family that you're marrying into. This is very important and it's very neglected and overlooked. Mental health.
Yeah.
Because I'm their mental illness. When you go to a Nigerian mother and say, Mommy, I'm dating this person, he would love to marry me. And they ask you, who is the family? Where is the family from?
Yeah.
If we're watching a movie, we look at it like, oh, Maliwa mean. You're so mean. Just let the two people get married because it's about love. Mental health is so much overlooked, and it's almost like it's you are ashamed to say, oh, we have mental health, we have mental illness in my family, because when you get married, you don't know the background. Is that mental illness? The child has that, where you now have to take care of that child, and it brings a fight. Who should work for Makumoenu? Who should work for Makumoenu? So really, we have to look at who we are marrying, what family they come from, what is their family history.
So Ruth asked a question in the comments. What about a a lady who doesn't treat her mother-in-law well or something like that.
She needs to go.
Yeah. How dare you disrespect the woman that brought the man
Absolutely.
you came to love in this life? How dare you? What
Yeah.
are you doing? Why? Because the new way wale onkako this time.
Yeah,
Eh?
it's a private. It doesn't work that way. And
No,
understand this, ladies. Understand this, my fellow panelists.
you know.
Me as your husband, the way your family will come into our marriage is the way you present me to your family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how you talk about me to your family. It's not all that together. It is crazy. It's because you are already building a castle. Your family will say, he's a fool. He just do this and that, depending on what you say to them.
Yeah.
So if we are to protect our husbands, when we are talking to our families, we have to talk good about our wives. And we should limit what kind of situation should our family intervene. Because some will come just to ruin. So no, act like a semi-permeable membrane. Know what to bring in and what not to bring in.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
So you talk about something and say, so they are lacking this in their marriage. And you go tell somebody, and somebody will fulfill that in your marriage. By the time you realize you're nowhere.
My husband is being silly over here too.
I saw that.
And that's true.
Oh my God.
So in conclusion, right? I think we would love to leave some tips for those that are about to get into the institution of marriage and for those that are already in the institution of marriage. I think we need to we've already shared some tips of, you know, how well. I think now we need to make sure that when we talk about alignment, we talked about things, and there are a lot. It's a lot of things that make or break a relationship. And again, value systems are different from one person to another.
Correct.
Um, some of the key points that we just picked, maybe top three things that we picked. We're going to talk about finances. You know, how well aligned are you financially? It's not about do you have a lot of money or not a lot of money. Whatever money that God has blessed you with, how well aligned are you? Do you communicate openly about finances? Because this has broken more marriages than I don't know what.
Money matters.
You know, and the other part, I think I would love Pastor Ernest to talk about this one. just because you're the spiritual leader of this group, if you will, right?
Well, thank you very much, Miss Nelly. I think, to your point, marriage, so many marriages have been broken, particularly to these two things, sex and finances. Okay. And I think in my definition of what marriage is, I always go to the definition. I did say that if you paid attention to my words, I was so careful in choosing my words. I say two matured people. Two matured people. When you get into marriage, there are things that are critical to the marriage that need to be discussed. How are we going to handle finance? And that's why it's imperative for us to know, how much money am I making? How much money are you making? Are we going to have two accounts? What is the advantage of us having two accounts? Should you have one account that is going to be a joint account that we're going to be putting all our money in there and know how we're going to dispense the money? That has to be discussed. Yeah. The unfortunate thing is that we get into marriage looking forward to sex and we forget about the things that are worth of the marriage. And these are issues. When you talk about sex, you have to disclose, okay, in there, before kusanga iwe God the puike na diapa, that's fine. No, me, I'm new to this. No, you have to be open. I'm new to this, so don't expect what you have gone through. Be open. You should be an open book so that I know and you know who you'll be dealing with. Right. I tell people this: you don't marry the human being, you marry the character of the person.
Absolutely.
because that's what you'll be dealing with in marriage. It's the character of the person. Wabu culture I didn't want pastor to like a bread. You don't need my kunch to fiap to them so that we should have a demons to our cast out. Wong what I would win. Anyway, need should have a bread in. That's what you'll be dealing with on a daily basis, and how do you handle that? That's why it's important to know that I am matured, not lightly getting into marriage. So that's
And what about the spiritual aspect?
nice.
Religious and spiritual aspect.
it's critical. For some of us, we believe in God. So remember, the last part of my definition was with the intention to fulfill God's plan.
Right.
What is God's plan for marriage? What's the goal? What's the purpose? Why did God bring marriage? Number one, we talk about what? Procreation. I'll talk about 3 P's. Procreation, that's what the Bible says. Number 2 is for purity. Number 3 is for pleasure. You know, I'm not here to teach, but I'll end here so that others can say something. But you know, but Victor,
We're loving it.
We are learning.
We're actually
Amen.
loving it.
Amen and amen. I think when we talk about spirituality, people have different denominations. I saw my mom used to came from a Jehovah's Witness background. My dad was a Catholic background, but they were able to compromise with each other. Obviously, they have different doctrines here and there. That created a little bit of strife, but at the end of the day, they put the family first.
Yeah.
And I've seen that compromise. I grew up with it. People do get married from 2 different religions, Christianity and Islam. Sometimes even not being spiritual is a form of spirituality. At the end of the day, like Priska said, it's all about compromising and really meeting halfway. You know, what do you bring to the table? What does the other one bring to the table? I know that Mazaila mentioned you have to understand what demons is the other party dealing with.
Yeah.
In asking that question, I think we also need to look in the mirror and say, what demons am I bringing to the table? We got our own family legacies.
Yes.
You know, so it's a two-way street. It's not about vetting somebody, which is important, but also vetting yourself, looking at your weaknesses and addressing them.
True.
I like that. I like that.
When you come to finances, this is very critical, and I think we can have it by its own, because there's a situation where you disclose your finances, somebody starts abusing those finances just because you have disclosed and say, oh, can't you?
Now, when you talk about finances, as men, we may not understand the financial needs of the ladies. Because in me thinking, I'm like, oh, a lady needs 1 or 2 weeks, but maybe the lady thinks she needs 5 weeks, depending on the season or the blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, my wiggy, I'm saying. So, but men don't get a second job.
And call me.
That you men on this panel, they actually understand the expense that goes towards a woman. So we have to wear our husband's pocket and not over demand, because that will bring some conflict again. Because just because my friend is wearing Brazilian hair, I should go and demand the same from my husband. I should wear his pocket first. And say, you know what, Manishra Brazilian number, maybe on my birthday, and maybe birthday is like 8 months from when you buy your hair. That's compromise. You have to understand your husband's pocket as well.
Yeah.
Understand.
I want to share some of the comments that we are getting. Fanta says, in our modern society, social media plays a major part. And sadly, yes, you know, sometimes we allow social media to come into play into relationships. Don't forget, it's a virtual world out there. What you have in front of you is the reality. So don't allow to cloud your judgment and start treating your partner differently because of something that you see on social media.
On social media, yeah.
And then Zenith says we need to be able to openly discuss sex.
Yeah.
I should be able to say, I will kill you if you come before me. Zenith.
No, she's right.
That's the comment of the day.
Now that comment, we need to address men's health, how do we keep the vitality together? How do we keep up with what we married into? Because when you were younger, you had a six-pack. I'm not saying you're going to have a six-pack in your 50s, but how do you maintain yourself? Do you still have the same colognes that used to turn her on? And can you last the night, or are you just going to...
Thank you. Those are really great
man.
points. Those are great points, because I think there's a lot of pressure for the woman to keep up, to look good.
Yeah.
Should we be doing a part two to
I
this?
can't brisk awala and jatinish now. What kind of pot belly I
Yeah, I feel like we should be doing a part two. And Victor,
Yeah.
I love how you always say men should always keep up, because society expects women to always keep up. We age, we give birth, we have cellulites, we have stretch marks. But then men are always to say, now we know, now quite a cellulites.
Yeah.
The mom like what you lose hair. When we met you, you had hair. I loved it. But now you shave your hair. So please go easy on us.
I know. Let's go easy on each other, really.
Let's be considerate. Let's be considerate.
Yeah.
Anthony says family need to prepare your young people for marriage. That's when they need the most help to help them grow together. There will always be bumps in the road that can derail a marriage. That's very, very true.
Amen.
Very, very important.
And I think Princess Mwangala said something. Could you put Princess Mwangala's message? It's right here.
Okay, go ahead and put it.
This is very important for young people that are getting married. It goes both ways. It's just right to respect your partner in public, because if you don't, it opens up room for outsiders to disrespect your partner.
Correct.
It's all the time. Whether Maome or Manakash, both ways, you just need to learn to respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mulenga
Mulenga said our stretch marks should be our pride, because they came from having children.
Wow.
Yes.
Amen. Amen.
Very
We're not saying leave them like that. You can also work on them. If they don't go, it's okay. We love them.
They don't go.
You should also work on your belly.
They don't go.
Whilst I'm working on my stretch mark, you're also working on your six-pack. I'll take 8-pack over 6-pack.
I love 1-pack.
This is also important, because as you're preparing for marriage and you're looking at this beautiful slender lady, you should be able to know that at some point in the marriage, children will come in, good milile will come in, and someone is going to gain a few pounds here and there. But you see, the disappointing thing is that we don't get into consideration of all these things. You have this blurry kind of future, thinking that everything is going to be the same. So you have to prepare that. And also, very important, we have to prepare that what if uncertainties happen? See, we are not teaching people that uncertainties do happen. In the event that an accident happened, how would my wife look? Will I be able to be proud person who was married this beautiful? Today, about skin now has to be pulled off. With all these surgical procedure, would you still be proud of who you married?
That's why I like the point, Pastor Ernest, where you said you marry the character.
The character, yeah.
The character of the person, because the body changes. What's on the inside of the person is really what matters in the long run, because eventually the bodies will fail or change. But
Parawade kadonza peso number you have to have, not just the muscle to.
When I was young, I only knew that bald head is only for men. I never knew that bald head is also for women.
And we look good in it. Part two
Especially
to
when it's
this.
time to go to sleep.
I think we should have a part 2 to this
I
because
think we should. I think we should.
Let us know. Let us know in the comments if you want a part 2 to this, so that we can bring this conversation back because we are at time, and because we're at time, I would love to talk about what's the movie. Do we have a movie of the week? I know we have a song of
No,
the two
Can
songs.
I have
no.
no before we go, I have
You'll get a chance to say last words. Each one of us will get a chance to
okay,
say
go ahead.
last words. It's okay. And then but the song of the week for me is Effort by Dreams.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Emwiko chavanga maluwa chirafai kokutamirika batinga chamu chirashupa kupulula.
Najibika bu effort.
I'm
So
talking effort.
yeah, it requires effort. So that's the song of the week, and also finally by Nakitu, I think was recommended as well. So in conclusion, I think we're going to start with ladies first. Priska, go ahead and let us know what your last words are before we close out.
I wanted to say marriage is a beautiful thing. I love being married. When I was praying to be married since I was a child, I prayed, I fasted, everything else. I didn't know that my partner was around the corner. For those of you, my husband and I used to be friends. And before we started dating, be intentional when you date somebody. Women, we have a tendency of I don't want. From the beginning, when my husband started firing me, I was just like, are you going to marry me? I just don't want, for real. I told him I want to get married. If you know you're not going to marry me, we're not going to go anywhere. Are you going to marry me? Do you have intentions of marrying me? And I feel like women, we don't do that. He was like, yes, yeah, one mukangu palisa. Yeah, two mukangu palisa. Yeah, three, we got engaged. I said, I don't want to be engaged for a very long time. Within 6 months, we were married. So I knew exactly what I wanted. He knew when I was getting into a relationship that I wanted to be a wife. So be intentional when you're dating somebody after you find out all those things. Let's talk about marriage, because men avoid that topic so much. They don't want to commit themselves. And even if they know that they want to marry you, they don't communicate with you to say, oh, I'm working on this. I want to do this. And a lot of them have a tendency of saying, I don't have enough money yet. I don't have this yet. How about you marry me? We work together. We achieve those things together. That's my last word.
That's a good one. Irene?
For me, I would say men need to just check themselves, like what everybody has said. Like what is your right woman that you're looking for, and don't be scared to approach people like me. I'm single. Don't be scared to approach me for whatever you're feeling inside, because you've checked yourself. Okay, I'm a family person, I have a good job. You don't have to be a CEO. I just have a good job, I'm decent. I know who she is. I've been watching her on the show for a long time. Let me try my luck. So when you do that, then we go through the process of getting to know you. I have friends now that I can go to and say, hey, do you know so and so? He approached me. What do you think about? That's what a village is all about. I'm not going to make that decision on my own. I'll come to Pastor Ernest, because he's a pastor on a spiritual side. He will tell me what he has to tell me. Then I'll go to Victor, he's my friend who's been married for a long time. He will tell me. And Mazaila will tell me the fun, silly stuff that I'm looking forward to. Does he have this? Can he do this? Is he able to do that? And then I have my sisters who can tell me the truth. So don't be scared to approach a woman based on what you think she's all about. Maybe I'm approachable, you just don't know.
I was just about to say, so Tony and I are thinking the same thing. I was about to say, wow, for Irene is telling you she's available. Shoot your shot, my brother. Don't be scared.
Bingo, ready?
As Irene is advertising, I'm not. I'm just saying there are so many Irenes out there that men are scared to approach. That's what I mean. They're
It's
so
all right.
scared to approach an Irene out there.
It's all right.
Don't
My
be,
sister,
yeah,
whether
don't
it's
be
this
scared.
Irene or the other Irene, will still take it.
Yes.
Pastor Ernest?
Oh wow, wow. Okay. Well, my last word I think is, Scripture says, "Do not be unequally yoked." Okay. Of course, my comments will be a little bit biased because I want to give what I've learned over the years. So, and I'm glad that we have a well-rounded table. So, of course, from a spiritual aspect, I want to know that you know God. And when I say you know God, I'm not talking about you going to church. It's part of it. I am not talking about you singing in the choir. I want to find out, do you have a personal relationship with God?
God.
Because for me, my house has to be run under those principles. So if we have to be in this journey, I need to understand what your relationship is. The unfortunate thing is that we are living in a day where people are so pretentious. And more especially we, the so-called Christians and all of that. You want to mwachilisha go outside. You can okay, I want to get married. You say, okay, let me hang out in the church and see what's going on. We are looking for people who have a relation. It's the relationship that you have with God that will sustain your marriage at the end of it all. Because remember, there will be so much that will come. And when you are surrounded with all these tornadoes in the marriage, the tendency to give up because you know there's a way out. Like in the beginning, I did say those who are inside are looking to go out. Those who are outside to come in. That's what I meant. It's because you have not really established a relationship that will hold the marriage together. Fiance watch land up it's all good. But main point is what you believe in.
Yes.
That will hold the marriage together.
Sure.
Otherwise, if you are churching, if you are by the way, your marriage also be by the way. And thank God for those who are thriving and their relationship and whatever you have. But for me, my last words to any person there who is calling themselves a Christian, know your future spouse, you stand where they are with God.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
How's a perfect word from the pastor? You can't say much. You can't, when you have a speaker speaking after the speaker, like the pastor or summarized all good points. Like he swallows all your points.
No.
Pastor, you're right. And people, you have to balance the spiritual part and the marriage itself. In marriage, spiritual is important. But also, you have to know what to do in marriage. There's some things where you don't have to speak in tongues. You have to do it the way it's supposed to be done. Marriage is an institution which has no graduate. They give us a certificate when you just get married, but you're not even into the school of marriage. Because marriage, you learn as you go.
Yeah.
And whoever will say he or she has graduated in marriage is a lie, because there are new things which comes and you have to learn each other and you have to be tolerant. So this marriage is a learning process where we have to continue learning and continue going.
Correct.
And with the help of God, as Pastor said, you start with God, you end with you, because in difficult situation where you don't know where to run to, where a man is going to cheat you, somebody's going to teach you false things, only him can look into your marriage and solve it. Shalom.
Victor?
I have a couple closing remarks for the people that are not married. Take time to know each other. Don't drag it out. Like Krista said, be intentional. Make a smart time frame. That's for the people who are not married. But for the people who are married, it takes a lot of grace to sustain a marriage. A lot of it's not because we are better than the next person. We just have that much grace. We are just fortunate. We are just blessed. And if somebody is not married, they are not less than the married ones.
Yeah. Thank you.
True.
Yeah.
People are gifted differently. I've seen people who are thriving in their careers, but no, that's you shouldn't look down on people like that. And also, it's by the grace of God that many of us we have still married. Otherwise,
Wow, that's
Thank
a
you.
great point.
That's
You know,
Um,
to uamadui omfwe. So many words of wisdom have been spoken here, based on different experiences that we've had, without clogging too much or taking away from anything that's been shared, because it's all great. I just want to remind you, whether you are married or you are in a relationship, please take time to know your partner's love language. That is going to help sustain your relationship. So from us, the Instant Show, thank you so much and have a blessed day.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
great day.